This is when she goes dark on here. So this is good. So very, very good. We'll get the doors open. So I'm excited about this event, actually. This is good. So yeah, Alan was out helping me support charity yesterday. A lot of charities, actually. We got a lot of love for a lot of charities, actually. Hinsdale Humane Society was out there. DuPage Pads was out there. And then we raised money for a great little charity in downtown Wheaton called Doodlebug. So Doodlebug Workshop. So yeah,
That's
raised
awesome.
we raised probably 5 or 6 grand last night, I'm guessing, Alan. So
Seriously.
well, it's
That's
$100.
incredible.
It's $100 a head. So we had 52 registered and paid. That didn't include walk-ins like you.
Yeah.
So that worked out really well. No, walk-ins are fine, man. We expect them. So John Fox was a walk-in, you were a walk-in, so we kind of expect them. So I think we did really well.
That's
So
great, man. Glad to
yeah,
hear it.
so it's yeah. I mean, you make an impact to a local charity like that. She's got a $300,000 a year annual budget. If we can give her 6 grand, it helps. God bless you.
That- That's a big
So
deal for sure.
yeah, yeah, it definitely helps. So that's good. So we are knocking on the door at 11 o'clock, and we'll give everybody a minute or so to get in the room. But in the meantime, we're going to get introductions kicked off. I'm super excited. Tony's got a big welcome in the chat. That's the way you guys will communicate with us. If you have questions for Matt or Alan, let us know. We're going to start off with Matt.Dressel. He's with a company called Thryv, as he likes to say. It used to be the Yellow Pages, now it's Thryv. But Thryv and Matt really have kind of helped a lot of my clients out with Google and doing some things there. And hang on one second. Tony, I think one of our agents by CJ, Craig Jackson's probably looking for a way to log in. So anyway, I got to shut my phone off. In the meantime, Matt's going to basically tell us all about Google. So, and how that will help you as an agent. I know one quick thing, a lot of agents used to push reviews out to Zillow, and that used to be kind of like the standard, like, hey, check out my Zillow reviews. But most agents aren't using Zillow as much anymore. And right now, the Google reviews are the place where you really should be. I know working with Matt, he's given me some suggestions and ideas. We have our own Google reviews, over 100 reviews, and we're targeting 200 this year. I think that's real important. Google business page being endorsed. I'm done, Matt. I'll stop taking your thunder. It's all yours, my friend.
I appreciate it, Rich, and Tony, you too. I know you're doing a lot on the back end, but yeah, thanks again, Rich. I'm excited to kind of get in with you guys today and hopefully make an impact, right? I know we've been doing a lot as far as getting reviews, and for anyone on the call that isn't aware, I mean, the number one way that you can really move that organic ranking, when I say organic, I'm talking about the map, pack, and below. Google guys doesn't have any salespeople on the street. Their best way to vet you as an agent, you as a firm, an agency, is to look at the Google reviews, right, from the actual clients of yours and what they say about you. So that's the biggest impact that you can make to a business. That's the best way Google can say, hey, they're trusted. We're going to serve that up on the first page. That way, that prospective client, that prospective home buyer has the best user experience on Google, right? That's what Google's after. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and share a brief PowerPoint. I know Alan's got some awesome stuff he's going to share, but let me jump right into it. Share a screen, and I'll give you guys a little PowerPoint here. Know this too. I know that Tony is going to send everything out. A follow up after this call. I've got some links. I got my contact information. Anyone can call me or text me. But I've got 3 great links you guys can use to both build a Google business profile, how to get some more information on Google Screen I'm going to go through, and then how to start the screening process, right, and get ads actually out onto Google. So today, obviously, we're covering the Google business profile, previously called Google My Business. Google now calls it Google Business Profile, and local service ads. A lot of people you'll hear they're called LSA ads, but that's what LSA stands for, local service ads. So if we get in, guys, we're first going to cover the free, remember, free Google profile, right? That's what today's call is all about. So let's look at the requirements, guys. I'm kind of showcasing Rich, kind of back his thunder here. I know Rich, what, a year ago we were under 100. We're up to 123 today, pushing 200 at
17.
2000.
We had 17, Matt.
That's awesome, man. We've made some hay. So Rich, that's great. And guys, you can't do this on the cheap, right? There's no way to buy these reviews. Google's got a serious vetting process even for people to review them. You have to have a Google login, right? Doesn't mean you have to have a Gmail. You can log in with a Hotmail or a Yahoo or something like that to build your Google profile. But in order to give a review, you have to be logged in and vetted by Google. They're going to do a verification process quickly on you. So no, like no one can, defeat this. So guys, the main thing to building this out, and this is before you advertise on Google, you must have a Google business page. And if you want to advertise on Google, you must have 5 current reviews. So that really weeds out those fly-by-night real estate agents. They're coming in to try and scam somebody. I'm going to throw up a Google business page today that's false. I'm going to throw some Google ads out there, and I'm going to try and get some clients that way and scam them or do something fraudulently to them, right? That's how they do it. Google makes you have 5 legitimate reviews. So the way you build this, because Rich, it's astounding to me, and I know you keep telling me there's agents out there that don't even have a Google business page. I can't believe that in today's age. Guys, Google My Business. So go on to your browser. You can even do it on Bing, Firefox, whatever. Just put in Google Business Profile, okay? You're going to create the profile with the username and password. Again, you don't have to have a Gmail to log into that. You're going to create that account, right? And then you're going to fill out every possible field whenever you start filling this out. Again, 5 minimum reviews, and you got to have a minimum 4-star rating. Google's got a 5-star system. You got to have at least a 4.0. That's simple, right? So guys, I want to make this as simple as possible. Here's what the page is going to look like. Tony's going to email the link to this. It's literally google.com/business. Okay. Typically you're going to see your first initial up here, your 2 initials like RK for Rich Kimball or just an R. But in case you haven't, sign in upper right here, and then you just start building out that Google business profile, right? Like the previous screen where we showed Rich's, this is what we're looking to build on the right-hand side, right? Collecting reviews. And guys, Google keeps adding things like updates. You can put your Facebook posts on there and feed over his blogs. There's a lot of good things that'll show Google that you're relevant. But the easiest way to move up the rankings in Google Map Pack is to have this and get more reviews. So you'll have instructions on how to build it. Guys, it's simple. There's nothing more to say on that. Let's look at lead generation. Google screening helps you guys get leads, right? So this was born out of the pandemic. Google had a genius idea. Hey, to prohibit fraud, to prohibit fly-by-night agents, agencies, things like that, we're going to do background checks to vet these white-collar workers, whether you work at Ed Jones, whether you work at CrossCountry, you're at Remax, wherever you guys are at, Compass, you guys are going to be able to get screened, show Google, hey, we're relevant, we're trustworthy. Google's then going to showcase you on the first page of the screen, right? So what is Google Screened? Again, guys, I'm going to give you 2 links on this About page. We don't have to read through it, but it talks about, how to tell if a provider's been Google Screened. The main thing, guys, in this age now, everything comes with a green check mark to verify that you're safe, right? Google will give you this green check mark once you go through this background check. If you own an agency or a firm, typically they're going to ask for all the other people licensed underneath you to go ahead and get in there to get vetted. But guys, it's really simple. You're going to go through a serious background check. I can tell you right now, I have had people that don't pass this. If you've got felonies or anything like that on your record, they won't deny you initially. They will ask you to provide an answer as to what they found on your background check. And then you'll have to explain to them what that was, and they'll decide if they're going to allow you to get screened and get the green badge. But guys, I'm going to give a link for this. So checked by Google as a partner. So Google Screen Professionals have passed license checks. Some of them also require to pass background checks and show proof of insurance. They're going to ask you for those licenses and insurances too. Once you get that all passed through, they're going to give you that badge of trust, right? Get the green check mark. Guys, when you go in and process this, Google will ask you to put a credit card on file to create an initial budget. Know that if you guys don't want to run budget and just be on the list, you can then take that budget out and go back to zero. I'm not saying you have to do that. I think there is a lot of value in doing this. But if you guys want to do this on a low budget, not spend money, you can still go through the screening process. It's free for white collar workers. You can get on the list, but you will not have the badge on there if you're not actively paying. Guys, one big thing. So local service ad requirements. Anybody that's familiar with LSA or Google sponsored ads, right? Paid ads. typically the old style, and they still are around, Google AdWords, you pay per click. Anything within the sponsored section that says Google screened, Google is actually going to give you a tracking line, record the phone calls, and only if someone fills out a form or they call you are you going to pay for this lead. It's not pay per click any longer. It's Google LSA ads, which means you're getting valid leads. Of course, they're going to cost a little bit more than a click, but Google is going to vet and make sure that it's not a robocall. It's not people just calling about another service that you don't offer. They are going to vet and make sure it's an actual call. So there is a lot of value in participating in running budgets through this. And obviously, that's something that I can do to help you guys. I'm going to send you some collateral that Tony's going to pass out to you guys on that too. But real quick, just again, to give you a synopsis, background check requirements are going to do a business check, an owner check, professional check, which is licenses, things like that, insurances. Insurance requirements, you have to have professional liability insurance. License requirements, license checks for each real estate agent in the firm. And then again, guys, 5 minimum reviews to get into LSA. And that's pretty much it, guys. So I wanted to make this brief because I know Alan has a lot to share with you guys. But guys, again, I'm going to provide links. Tony's going to pass out more information on LSA, Google Business, and of course, us at Thryv. I work with a lot of real estate agents, mortgage agents across Chicagoland. I am local here in the city. I get out to the burbs a lot. I am more than happy to meet with you guys in person, grab a coffee at Starbucks, or we can do a demo. I will demo this entire process to you. And if you do purchase anything from Thryv and myself, I've already got $50 I'm going to give to anybody that even has a demo with me. And we're going to give you some free software too, some live chat access, things like that. So here's my contact information. Rich, that's all I got today. Anything else I can do to help, I'll be glad to do it.
That's great stuff, Matt. And I think the biggest thing that, you mentioned for agents, if you really want to know about Google business page and impact and everything, just Google, whatever town you happen to be sitting in right now, Google the word realtor, Elk Grove Village, realtor. I saw you did it, Chicago 60622. Google, just Google realtor. You're going to see the agents that pop up. You're going to see their Google business pages. Like you had Matt Laracy, who I'm aware of. I know of Matt, 400 and some odd reviews, all 5 stars, green check mark endorsed. The other agent that came up, less than 50 reviews, 4 stars, not green mark checked. I don't know. If I'm relocating to that zip code, I might have to go to the guy with the more reviews. And I wouldn't be discouraged about the reviews because obviously we're proof that you can go out and get those reviews. You just have to make a concentrated effort to do that. We've got over 100 reviews since we put our mind to it. There's a lot of different strategies relative to getting reviews, certainly going back to your own database. These are all clients that you did business with. You can go back to those guys, talk to them, ask them for reviews, these types of things. One of the things that we do sometimes on a scripting side when we're working our own database for referrals, we'll of course ask, hey, you're great, you're happy, happen to know anybody who needs our mortgage services? No. Well, if you don't have anybody that you could refer us, would you mind giving us a review? Because that really helps us get referrals as well. So there's a lot of really good strategies around that. You could actually talk to your networking groups, have them actually give you good reviews in exchange for reviews. So these are businesses that already know you, do business with you. You're in a networking group, so you guys all help support each other. There's a lot of ways to get your reviews and get the numbers up, and it honestly doesn't take that much. So, I know Matt's an incredible resource. I know a lot of businesses that are using his software in addition to assisting real estate agents. He does a lot of stuff with trades folks and helps them with their Thryv CRM software is really, really robust. I would strongly encourage you. Certainly, if you're an agent, he's more than happy to help you. If you happen to know of anybody that runs any other type of business, and Matt, you might want to talk about that for half a second, and then, we'll let you go if there's no other questions.
Yeah, Rich, I appreciate it. And you kind of teed that one up for me. Obviously, I'm here to talk to real estate agents, the mortgage industry, things like that. One big thing we hang our hat on, right, is automating processes, right? Talking about that CRM. I know a lot of you as agents, you've got an in-house CRM. That's great. But if anyone out there is independent, out on their own doing things like that, just know you have a fallback with us with a great, robust CRM package. automating reviews, right? That's a big thing we do through the software to make it easy on you, so you don't have to worry about dialing, 15 people today to try and get that review. We can automate a cadence for you. But like Rich said, the biggest thing we are liaisons to Google. So any type of business, whether it's the trades, whether it's restaurants, whatever it may be, we can help you guys, because along with what Rich just talked about, everyone organically, I talked about getting the page ranks and how reviews impact that. But know as well, like Rich just mentioned, someone with 400 reviews and the next one's 50, that guy with 400 reviews is going to be at the top every single time, because Google's got an algorithm, right? And what they're making sure of is, again, the prospect looking for a real estate agent, they want to make sure they have the best user experience on Google. Google's best bet is, hey, if someone's got 400 reviews and 400 good reviews, we're going to serve him up at the top, because odds are he's going to offer the best user experience to that client, and then they're going to cadence that and cascade it all the way down, right? So they're going to vet you, but they're also going to showcase the people that are checking all their boxes and doing the most of what Google asks for every business owner out there. So, and that goes along too with the value score associated with an ad. You got to make sure there's relevancy in the ad copy. That then goes to a landing page. So if we're talking about mortgage rates, if we're talking about certain neighborhoods, we want to make sure that those ads are going to the correct page. So the person looking on your website has a great user experience. They're then going to convert, call you, hopefully hire you. Then they have a good user experience, leave a review. That's how this whole thing works. And then you guys spend more money with Google. They're happy. We're happy. The end consumer's happy. But again, guys, that's where I really come in and help with the algorithms. We have softwares to take care of that. And obviously, you're going to get some collateral on the paid side. Paid services we have. But again, I'm happy to talk to you, help you guys out, put something together, and then we'll decide on which direction to go. But Rich, that's what I
Matt,
got.
we do have one question in the chat.
Sure. Okay.
Actually, there might be two now, but Vishal asked, what link do you send a client for a review to be posted on Google?
So, guys, great question. If you have a Google business profile, and that's what this whole segment I'm doing is based around, right? Once you have that Google profile, you'll have something in there called a short link, a review link. It's typically, I'd say, about a dozen characters. You can copy and paste that. I'll even say, anyone on this call, if you want to just text or email that to me, email me that link. I will create you a free QR code, all right, that you can then give out to all your potential buyers, whatever it may be, clients that do close business with you, give that to them. But yes, there's a short link, and that bypasses everything that we showed you, Rich. I'll kind of just page down really quick. It'll bypass this page right there and take you straight to a page with the 5 stars on it. Make it super easy so no one can miss. As long as they're logged into Google Business, the person giving the review, they can, boom, hit the 5 stars right there, leave a comment, submit, and you're done. But within that Google profile, because Google Business Profile is something called a short link. I can make you a QR code. If you don't want a QR code, just use that link anywhere you want to go. Give that to someone, and that will bypass everything, and they can review you really easily and efficiently.
That's a great offer, by the way. Thank you very much, Matt, to be able to QR codes. People are using those much more common. We're exchanging business cards that way. So Dina asks, and this is a great question, if I happen to have 2 Google profiles, can they be merged?
Yes, they can be. Yeah. The cool thing, guys, with Google, I mean, they are tougher and tougher to get in touch with. There's no phone number. And since the pandemic, they have been understaffed. I mean, I feel like recently I talked to someone in Ireland, a lot of people offshore. They don't have as many people stateside anymore. If you can prove to them, Google's going to vet you and prove it. The main thing you want to do is just go to help. And Rich, I might try and find that link so Tony can send that out to you, just like a help link, right? Google will email you. Always remember, you have to use the initial email that they email you back at. Use that as your correspondence. And it's really case-by-case basis. Explain to them, I've got 2 businesses I'm merging. As long as it's legit, they will do that for you. I've even had people that were just,
Tony actually put that link in there because Matt actually did help us. We had 2 different pages as well. So there is a link that she included in there that can be, you guys hit that support link, and you guys, because obviously having more than one profile, I know Cobra asked the same thing here. And Celeste asked, that's a good question. Celeste, Will you talk about different ways to promote your Google business profile, i.e., blogging, adding photos, adding products to your profile, and other ideas?
Yeah, I mean the biggest one, and Alan may touch on stuff like this too. I mean, we obviously at Thryv have tools to make this really easy, right? So the best thing, again, I briefly mentioned it, the update section, right? Google has an update section when you're in the profile. It's pretty much their blog. And the cool thing is it will show how relevant you are. Google wants to see you active. They want to see your business posting at least 3 times a week on Facebook. Again, Google has a check box system now. If you're filling out all the checks that they want, that appeases them and you're going to show up higher as you gain ranking, right? But the main thing you want to do is use a tool, say that if you're putting out Facebook and Instagram messaging, you have a link to your Google business, and typically software like we offer, you literally just fill out a Facebook post, you check. Typically Instagram's a little different because it's photo based, so you're going to have different content and hashtags within that. You can literally take your Facebook post with our software, click the Google business link that we already have linked up within your software. That Facebook post then on your calendar, automatically every day you post goes on your Google as a blog post. And that is the best thing you can do, guys, is make sure you've got that. Backlinking too, if there's anywhere you can ever backlink, say if you're on your Google business profile or on your website, backlink these blogs you're doing like back to your website. And I can always help if someone wants to call me after the call about that. We've got software that does that. But again, guys, the update section, Rich, that's the way I'd answer that. The best way to do that is making sure you're filling out, and you can do it individually. Go into the update section, fill that out on your own. It just takes more time, but find a software to where you can just make one post and then send that out to several different platforms or channels. That's the best way to do it. And I'm sure Alan's going to talk about that because he's going to talk about the actual content and how to, maximize and make that efficient on you guys. But hopefully that answered the question, Rich.
Yeah, I think that covers. Got some other questions coming in, and I think we're good on Alan's time. Alan, I think so. I'm going to keep the questions coming, which is great. Juan asked, can you transfer any existing reviews from other sites like Zillow into Google? Yeah, I knew that answer.
Yeah, that's a flat no. Again,
Yeah.
Google's job, again, they guys and Alan will probably talk about AI. Well, I know he will talk about AI, but guys, Google is not going to let any outside source come in and factor into the way that they serve you up, right? They've got a very tried and true process. They're vetting the person that's giving the review, they're vetting the business. They're not going to allow anything from the outside to come in and, just take advantage of anything and, promote a way to climb the ladder without going by their rules and checking their boxes. So that's a flat out no. I do though, guys. There's a lot of software out there that we use and plug in so we can get those Zillow reviews and get Yelp reviews on your website and scroll them across. I think that's great, right? So don't think that, hey, they're gone, because sometimes people might not land on Zillow. We can definitely take those and showcase those on your website. So the key is Google's always number one to get people to find you. But once they get to your homepage, Google will put a lot more trust in you if you do have those Zillow reviews there, because Google does trust Zillow. They're just not going to use their reviews.
Makes sense. So Cobra asked, this is a good question too, because I've gotten these calls. I keep getting a call with a voicemail to call to verify my Google business page, but always a different number to call back. Is this a legitimate call or a scam?
It could be neither, right? It's probably not a legitimate call. And guys, I tell anyone, if you ever get into a phone conversation with someone and they sound like they're legit and you like what they're saying and they're telling you they're working at Google, say, hey, if you don't mind, I don't have a lot of time right now. Could you email me? Give them your email address. Now, yes, that does open you up to a little bit of spam, but I'm not worried about that. I've got good security, right? But if they do not email you back at google.com, they do not work for Google. It's real simple. So if they can't email you back with that, but they may be a good vetted reseller like Thryv is, right? We were one of Google's first ad partners because we're 135 years old. So we are a reseller. We don't work for Google, but guys, if you're found online, they will call you and represent themselves as Google. But Google does send out automated messages if they are finding inconsistencies with their listings, because again, they're trying to clean this all up again to have a better user experience for everyone that owns these. That's why you're seeing a lot of these listings getting suspended. And by the way, I can definitely help out with any business that's had their business listing suspended. I help out a lot with that. The same process we talked about, getting in communication with Google. But Rich, I hope that answers the question, man.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. Last question for you, and
Yeah,
then we're going to get Alan teed up here.
cool.
And it's a good question for you as well. Celeste asked, what's the name of the software that you use?
Yep, it is Thryv Business Center. So it is our own software, guys. I mean, again, we're a 135-year-old marketing company. Everything is about small business America. It's all about automating things, which Alan's going to talk about, right? So, but everything's about automation. Ours is our own. We have other centers as well. Anyone on the call, I can give a free command center to as well. I can give you a demo, but it comes with cool like team chats and different softwares like composing all your messages into one hub. There's a lot of cool free stuff and free forever, by the way. We've been a organization that when we grandfather things, we have never gone back on it in my 13 years I've worked here. But ours is our tried and true Thryv software, and it's called Business Center. Everything is our CRM, but Tony's going to send you out some collateral on our marketing center, and that kind of goes right in line with everything I showed you today.
Cool. So Matt, we'll close this out. Matt's an incredible resource. He and I are in a networking group together, and there's a lot of trades folks in there that use his software and just rave reviews. Everybody, the guys that are using it, for people that don't have access, in our industries, whether it's mortgage or real estate, we seem to have access to a lot of different CRMs, but those guys don't, they don't make a CRM for a plumber that I know of. So, those guys tend to, they're really, really loving on that. Matt, Tony will put Matt's contact information back in the chat. Matt, if you'll give us our screen back, although I do like Thryv, we got to turn this thing over to Alan and get him teed up. Thank you very much, Matt. You're a great resource as always. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Rich. Pleasure.
So, all right. So with that, we're going to turn this over to Mr. Alan Stern. Alan and I have known each other for quite some time. Just enjoy. I think we were at a charity event last night, and I was introducing Matt around. And every time I went to introduce him, I said last night, and I even said to him, I always pause when I introduce you because, I don't know how quite to introduce you. Alan's a little bit of a phenom in the sense that, he's been in this space showing you how to get eyeballs to where you need to get eyeballs, whether it's your website, whether it's social media, whatever. And he's been doing this for businesses of all types, but certainly a little bit more in the service sector, mortgages and real estates and the like. So it's an honor to have you here. I really appreciate you. And with that, I'm going to turn the screen and everything over to Alan Stern.
Well, before I get started, man, I just want to say I genuinely appreciate the big musical introduction, man. Thank you so much for having me. So before I get started again, I wanted to turn it back over to Rich, Matt, Tony. Just grateful for the opportunity to be here today to share with you how you guys can market yourself on a shoestring budget. So ironically, Mr.Dressel had talked a little bit about things that you can't do on the cheap. I'm actually going to show you all the things that you can do without spending any money. And most importantly, things that you can execute in 2 minutes time span or less. So if you can do me a solid, Rich, is my screen sharing right now? Do you see the Drop Some Heat presentation?
Yep, I got it.
Awesome. What I did, I dropped in the chat for all of you to follow along with. I dropped in the chat a worksheet just in case you want to do the exercise at home or at a later date and get the most out of it today. But here's what we're going to do. For the next half hour or so, we're going to talk about how you can stay top of mind in a cool way without spending any money by using something called the heat method. Now, I recognize a handful of names on this call, and some of you may have seen me touch on this in the past, but I've probably never broken it down to the level that I'm going to today. So again, excited to see all of you implement everything that we're going to go over. And again, everything here can be done in a matter of 2 minutes or less with no graphic design experience. So let's go ahead and get started with the very basics. Like, hey, Alan, this sounds good, but who is this presentation actually for? I specifically made this for two audiences in mind. Number one is a small business owner, and number two is a commission-only salesperson who doesn't have an extensive background in marketing. That could mean realtors, loan officers, insurance agents, speakers, basically anybody who has to be a one-man, one-woman content machine and is in control of not only doing the sales, but the marketing. Now, why did I do this? Because I am one of you. I have lived that lifestyle for a decade and a half. And here's what I have found. Most marketing agencies are not excited to work with you. And it doesn't make them bad people. It just means the money usually is not in serving the little guy. So where does that leave you if you're a hungry salesperson? It leaves you trying to figure out how you can create more opportunities to sell, and it costs you your most valuable asset, which is your time. So what we're going to do today is focus in on how you can make the most out of these three platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. That's it. If you're using Snapchat or you're using TikTok or YouTube, great. That's bonus points, but we're just going to focus in on these three today: Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, so you can max out and do the most with these. But before we get started, we have to have a little bit of a conversation about where we are at as a society right now, because it's not pretty. And I can piece everything together, but I'd rather just let one picture do the talking. Everywhere you go, this is what you see: people staring at their phone hours and hours and hours at a time. Now, we know this is happening. We go to the mall, we go to Chipotle, we go to Starbucks, we go to the grocery store, and this is what we see. Now, the question becomes, is this good or is it bad? And if it's good, who is it good for? Well, what you will find is with a little strategery, it can be really good for you. And you know what? I don't even think that's a word, but it sounded good. So we're going to go ahead and roll with it. So regardless what your view is of social media, for the next half hour, I just simply want you to think of it as nothing more than a tool. And the fact that you are either using it or it is using you. And if you don't know how it's using you, well, then you want to ask yourself, why is it that Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn are all free platforms, yet somehow these are billion-dollar companies? Like, how does that actually happen? Well, it happens because they use your data and sell it to advertisers, which is why they have the most targeted ads on the planet. The focus of today's call, though, is to show you how to use it as a tool to meet your audience where they're at. And just to remind you, here is where they're at. This is what they're doing: mindlessly scrolling on social media, because the reason why people go on these platforms is so that they can be entertained. Always remember that. If your audience is there on social media so that they can be entertained, and you as a salesperson is on this platform so you can promote and sell your business, what happens is there is a massive disconnect. And eventually you will get unfollowed because it just gets viewed as spam. But everything changes when you are able to show up and advertise your business in an entertaining way. Now, all of a sudden, people don't mind seeing your advertisements and they will actually share them. So before I get into the how and I show you how to pull this stuff off, I'm going to go over three marketing stats that everybody on the call today should know. The first of which we're going to do popcorn style, and that is the amount of time that we spend on social media. So without going on Google and looking this up, do me a favor, drop A, B, C, or D in the chat. How much time do you think the average person spends on social media a day? A, 63 minutes, B, 79, C, 121 minutes, D, 152. Let's see. We got D, we got C, 121, C, A, B. Awesome. So here's the reality. If you were to go on Google right now, here's what you'd find. You would find a handful of studies, but they would all show up somewhere right around this. And that is, the average person spends somewhere around 2 hours and 32 minutes a day on social media. Now, I bring this up to remind you of something. We are supposed to get 8 hours of sleep a day. Supposed to, which leaves us 16 remaining hours. And 2.5 hours a day are spent on that. But let's actually put that into perspective. Let's round it and say 2.5 hours a day. Over the course of a year, here's what that adds up to: 864 hours a year, which is the equivalent, folks, to get this, 36 full days a year. That's what we spend on these platforms. So I bring this up to remind you, if you are not advertising on social media, you're not a bad person, but you're just leaving a lot of money on the table. But you see, we can't just post and promote. We need some strategy, because stat number 2 is the average person sees somewhere between 4,000 and 10,000 advertisements every single day. That is a ridiculous amount of noise and clutter that we have to cut through. So half of the battle on social media is getting noticed. The other half is simply getting remembered. Because if you are talking and nobody's listening, it's not going to do you any good. Now, anything worth saying is worth saying briefly, because stat number 3 is the attention span of a human being. You go on Google right now and look this up, folks. Microsoft did a study a few years back that said the attention span of an average person is somewhere around 8.25 seconds. Now, as somebody who was diagnosed with ADHD at a very young age, I see this and I'm like, all right, yeah, that makes sense. And then I look at the bottom of this and I say, humans have a shorter attention span than a goldfish? Are you kidding me? You're going to put the apex predators of the planet in the same box as this? Come on. Now, on a lighter note, does anybody know what you call a fish with no eye? Drop it in the chat if you do. Anybody know what you call a fish with no eye? The dad jokes have already started. So some of you on this call are like, all right, dude, what is it? What is this man doing? Why did he intentionally just bomb this joke? I can come over here and show you a presentation with charts and graphs, and you guys are going to tune out and your eyes will start glazing over in a matter of minutes. So no matter what it is that you sell at the end of the day, you are in the attention business. You are in the attention of getting eyeballs and holding attention. So now the question becomes, how do we do this? Well, earlier when I started this call off, I mentioned that I'm going to show you a way that you can stay top of mind without spending any money. Now, that's something called the heat method, which is something that I completely made up. But what happens is when you do this, you will now have the ability to meet somebody in person one time, add them on social media, and based off of what you post, weeks, months, and years can go by and they warm up to you. They begin to know you, like you, trust you, ultimately making you easy to do business with when the time comes. So all this really is a strategic way for you to stay top of mind on social media without spending any money. Free 99. Sounds good, but what will it actually do? It will allow you to show your personality in your marketing while demonstrating your expertise. And combining those two is very important. You heard me talk about how people go on social media to be entertained. So you can demonstrate your expertise, but not everybody cares about that. So if you show your personality and actually make the human connection first, everything changes. Because it doesn't matter if times are good, if times are bad. If AI takes over the world, whatever it is, at the end of the day, people don't buy from brands. They buy from the people who represent brands. I believe so strongly in that concept that that's the underlying reason why I decided to name my company Persona Marketing, for just that reason. So let's unpack this little thing called the heat method. There's 4 components, and that's why I gave you all a worksheet at the beginning of this call. There's humor, education, adding value, and trust. And when you combine all 4 of them, you can meet somebody in person one time and show your personality while demonstrating your expertise. Starting with the first, which is humor. If people go on social media to be entertained, we'll meet them where they're at. The whole idea, though, is when people laugh, they tend to remember what made them laugh. And in this case, that is you and your business. And in a climate right now where we are all running around every day, busy and stressed out, we tend to gravitate towards those who can put a smile on our face. But don't get it twisted. It's not about being funny. It's actually about creating a human connection. Because again, when you make the connection first, what happens is your audience sees your content and they say, hey, business aside, this person's cool. I would actually hang out with them. But you see, just because somebody thinks you're cool doesn't mean they're actually going to buy from you. That's where the second part comes in, which is education-based marketing. When you use education in your marketing, what happens is you are actually able to sell without appearing salesy, because you're becoming a resource as opposed to being a salesperson. And when you are viewed as a resource, people want to pick your brain. And when they pick your brain, you've just now generated a lead, but you've done so by being able to solve a problem. And in the world of business, we exchange our time and money to solve problems. So let's say that you just do the first two. You combine humor and education. Your audience says, this person's cool, but they can actually help me. You just do those two things. I promise you, you will notice a dramatic spike in your engagement. Now, moving on to the third area, this is my personal favorite, adding value. Plain and simple, it's 2024 and we live in a world of scams. It's not what you say, it's not even how you say it, it's how your audience feels when they receive the message. And when you are somebody who solely focuses in on adding value and enhancing somebody's life and leaving them better than you found them, people authentically start to feel like you're looking out for them. And the thing here, though, is free value leads to trust. And people do business with those who they know, like, and trust. Earlier on the call, Matt today talked about the importance of reviews, and nobody can sell you better than a satisfied customer. So when you check off all 4 of these right here, you can meet somebody once, add them on social media, weeks, months, and years go by, and they begin to warm up to you. Now, this might sound good, but some of you on the call today are probably wondering, all right, so who is this Alan Stern guy? How did he come up with this heat method? Should I trust him? Yada, yada, yada. Don't blindly trust me. Here's what I want to do. I want to share with you my journey in sales and how I learned how to do all of this stuff, largely by accident, and share with you some bad marketing ideas that I used to have starting my first business. Now, if we've crossed paths before, you might have heard my story. My background for the past 15 years has been in the car business. But you see, that's actually not where my business journey started. My business journey actually started well before the car business, because before there was the car salesman, there was the DJ. There was a spiky-haired teenager that had one goal in life, and that was simply to find a way to get paid for blasting music. Now, my business journey actually started back in 2008 at a hookah bar in Schaumburg called Exhale, where I got paid $20 for a night's worth of work. Now, I didn't realize it at the time, but $20 for 5 hours of work? Well, you see, that's a little below minimum wage. And you know what? I was excited as hell because I got paid for doing something that I love. And if you can see on the right-hand side of this picture, that was Taco Bell for the evening. So not
hey, Alan, I don't know that Alan, I don't know that you're pictured down. Oh, there you go. Yeah, it had kind of frozen there. There it is.
I did?
Yep.
Awesome.
We got it.
Sounds good. So as you can see over there on the right-hand side of the picture, there's Taco Bell for the evening. So not a bad day at the office for me. That's all 18-year-old Alan Stern really needed to hear. Got paid for blasting music and he got to eat good. So all of a sudden now I'm in business for myself. But you see, that sounds great, but nobody's going to hire me unless I know who I was. So one of my friends tells me about a website called vistaprint.com. Drop yes or no in the chat if you guys have ever heard of a website called vistaprint.com. And if for whatever reason you haven't, that's where you can go and get extremely cheap, generic, do-it-yourself business cards made in a matter of minutes. So as a broke teenager, that's really all that I needed to hear. It didn't matter how the business card looks. The reality is I had a card and none of my other friends did. But you see, I want you to think back to when you got your first business card. Didn't your whole identity change? Like in my case, I'm a teenager. My whole identity shifted from the guy on the left, which was Alan Stern, to the guy on the right, which was DJ Spider. And let me tell you about him. DJ Spider was determined to bring the party to you, regardless of the occasion. And my message was very simple. If you were going to pay me to do that, I was going to make it pretty easy on your wallet. So now, all of a sudden, I have a business and I have a way to get the word out. But I'm a broke teenager and I have no money. Ad budget? What's that? Chamber of Commerce? What's that? So I figured, logically speaking, why not start here? Why not start with the cork board at the local coffee shop? So I'll never forget. Earlier this day, I had read some like inspirational quotes on MySpace that said something along the lines of, don't think outside the box, think like there is no box. And literally all I got out of that, folks, was don't be scared to bend the rules when it comes to marketing. So I'll never forget. I'm sitting here staring at this board and realizing there's no space for me to leave a business card. How am I possibly going to stand out? So I get the bright idea, since there is no rules, instead of being a decent human being and leave 1 card, why not do this? Like, simple math. Why leave 1 when you can leave 20? So I'll never forget. I hit like 2 or 3 Panera Breads and a couple coffee shops that day. And then I get the bright idea to say, maybe I should target this a little bit more. So that way, instead of landing a $20 hookah bar gig, maybe I can land a wedding and make some real cash. So I get the bright idea to go and hit every Target and Walmart in the area and start dropping my business cards in the wedding section. So after a nice long 12-hour day of littering, I go home to my parents' house, I kick my feet up on the table, bust open a nice cold can of Sprite, and I say, watch out, Chicago, DJ Spider is in the house. The phones are about to start ringing tomorrow. And so tomorrow comes. And would anybody like to drop in the chat, how many calls do you think I got the next day? How many calls do you think this brilliant advertising strategy got your boy DJ Spider? Celeste says 0. Juan says 0. Seamus says 1. Mark says 3. Amazing. So here's the reality. I got a handful of calls. That's the good news. The bad news is they were from management saying, yeah, Alan, we saw you on camera doing this. We've thrown your business cards away, and we don't ever want to see you in the store again. Follow me for more marketing advice, by the way. So a few years go by, and now I find myself in the car business. And now I have to start conducting myself in a more professional manner. So I find out about this little thing called a chamber of commerce, to which at that point in my life, I actually thought was a local branch of government. Somebody said, you should join a chamber of commerce. I said, whoa, that sounds official. Come to find out, it's a hub of local businesses where they start hosting networking events. So here's what I realized. I start going to a bunch of these networking events, and here's what I found. You have a bunch of conversations. You talk to a bunch of people. A lot of these conversations are good. Some of them suck. Let's just be honest. But at the end of the day, you talk to a bunch of people, you feel accomplished, and you go home with a bunch of cards. And then here's what happens. You leave the cards on your dresser, and you wake up the next morning, you take one look at them, and you say, who the hell did I talk to? You realize half of the people don't have their picture on their card. You're trying to figure out where you left off. And at the end of the day, within 36 hours, you are forgotten about. It's just the cold, hard facts. So which poses the next question, well, how do we stay top of mind? What is the formula? Well, here's what I would recommend doing. Every networking event that you attend, as soon as you get a business card, what you should immediately do is you should immediately add them on these 3 platforms: Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you're on TikTok, awesome. If you want to follow them on YouTube, great. If you follow people on Snapchat, amazing. But just at the very least, do these 3. At the very, very, very least, just do LinkedIn, because it is a business platform. And you'll notice within the past couple of years, a lot of people have had enough with Facebook or Instagram and migrated over to LinkedIn. But you see, here's the thing. We can't just post. We have to learn who our target customer is. Now, what I've done is I actually have a completely separate presentation that only focuses in on leveraging AI, but I wanted to at least pull this out of here because it's so valuable. Before I show you this, though, do me a favor. Drop yes or no if you are currently using ChatGPT or Google Gemini in one way, shape, or form. Just drop yes or no in the chat if you are currently using ChatGPT or Google Gemini in one way, shape, or form. And for those of you who are using it, do me a favor. Just drop how you're using it. Are you using it to get market data? Are you using it to write blogs, emails, content, listing descriptions? How specifically are you using it? Awesome. Social media ideas. Use it for everything. Information. Cool. So here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys something that is called a prompt chain, which is a fancy way of saying it is a sequence of instructions that you give ChatGPT. And what will happen is this will allow you in a time span of 2 minutes or less to get a laser-focused target customer profile. Now, you heard me talk about earlier how people exchange money and time to solve problems. Well, Rich and his team have solved the problem of us learning how to use AI and grow our business, which is why all 31 people that are on this call right now have exchanged their time to be on here. So what I can do is I can go on ChatGPT, and I'm going to use a car-related example because that's my background. I can go here on the bottom, and I can say, what are 5 problems that would cause someone to consider purchasing a new car? And then I click the green arrow, and here's what you'll see. You'll see it spits out a whole bunch of data. Cool. But you see, that's not really where the money is. The riches are in the niches. So the idea is, yeah, I have a problem that gets the phone to ring, but I still need to put on my sales hat, and I need to create urgency. So step 2 here is I can follow that up, and I can say, what are the consequences of not solving each of the problems listed above? So now I have a pain point, and I have a way to overcome the objection anytime that somebody feeds me a line and says, yeah, we're going to wait. But you see, if I wanted to create a target audience, now all that I have to do is follow that up by saying, give me an audience that is most likely to experience each of the problems listed above. This right over here, folks, is how you use ChatGPT as your thinking partner. But you see, I have 3 threads of data here, and if we could just be honest with each other for a second, this is great, but it's not organized. It's time-consuming to read all of this because it's very busy. So I can have ChatGPT organize it because I can follow this up by saying, take all of the data listed above and put it into table format. And here's what you would find. And now, in one short, simple, easy to read place, I have a problem that causes the phones to ring. I have an audience that is most likely to experience said problem. And I have a way to create urgency anytime somebody decides to stall. And I have 5 different target markets right here. Are you freaking kidding me? This is nuts. Like, if we could just pause for a second and say, this right here is stuff that market research companies and data companies used to charge thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of dollars for. And now it's right here at our fingertips. This is actually something that I go over in my course, but I wanted to just over-deliver for you guys today and show you how to do this. So for those of you who dropped in the chat earlier, which there were a couple of you who were, ask yourself this. How much better would that blog post or that listing or that article or that email be if you just took the time to get the information, and instead of you saying, create a LinkedIn article to list this or to address this, you decided to say, create a LinkedIn article or a blog post to an owner of an older vehicle who experiences the problem of reliability and maintenance cost and remind them of the consequence of frequent breakdowns. Boom. Now, all of a sudden, that article just became a sales letter. So that's one hack that you can do on AI. But now, once you have all of this data, you're probably wondering, all right, Alan, this sounds good, but what do I actually do with all of this data? Well, now, my friends, it is time to drop some heat. So what we're going to do right here is we're going to go over one tactical example of how you can execute each of these areas in a time span of 2 minutes or less. Even if you're not a techie person, even if you have 0 graphic design skills. Starting with the first, which is my personal favorite, and that is humor. But again, it is worth repeating. The goal is not to crack jokes or be funny. It is to create human connection, because people don't buy from brands, they buy from the person who represents the brand. And if you like this and you like to actually read up on this, there's a book called Humor Seriously, which will go really, really deep on this. So let's go over the basics of humor. And we're going to do this in a fun way with some audience participation. Anytime that you use humor in your marketing, there's two elements. There's number one, there is a shared truth. That right over there is what makes your message relatable. Think of your favorite stand-up comedians for a second. The example that I always like to use is Sebastian Maniscalco, one of the biggest guys in the game right now. What's interesting about him, though, is the reason why his content resonates with so many people is because he talks about so many things that are relatable. He talks about being raised by immigrant parents. He talks about things that happen at the grocery store or the airport or Chipotle or Starbucks or whatever it is. This guy happens to nail the messaging because he talks a ton about shared truths. But what actually makes his content funny is the element of surprise. That's the mean left hook that actually makes things funny. So let's go ahead and let's open this up for some audience participation, and I'm going to show you how you can pull this off. What is this right here? Drop in the chat. I'll give you guys a few seconds. When you see this picture on the left, what do you see? What is the first word or the first term that comes to mind? What do you guys see here? We got dumpster fire. We got dumpster fire. Okay, cool. I don't think anybody would debate that this is a dumpster fire or a garbage can or a trash fire. But you see, the reality is you're all wrong because this was the Chicago Bears in the 2023 season. So let's actually talk about why that's funny for a second. Brian Wolf said the government. I absolutely love it. That is the government. Hilarious. So here's why that's actually funny. First of all, starting with the very basics, this is in fact a dumpster fire, which according to urbandictionary.com is an informal term in the United States used to describe a catastrophically bad situation. So moving along, there are two shared truths here. Number one, this is a picture of a dumpster fire. And number two, the Bears finished their 2023 season in last place. So where is the element of surprise? The element of surprise is the caption. That is the mean left hook that just came out of nowhere. That is the big red bow that tied everything together. So how could you actually do this and promote your business? Well, this picture right over here can be used to use any industry, to be used as an advertisement for just about any industry by using this formula right over here. How it feels when plus problem that causes somebody to reach out to you is how you have unlimited content ideas. For example, this is how it feels when you sell your home below market value. And now anybody who is a realtor could use this as an advertisement. How it feels when plus problem that would cause somebody to reach out to you or consider hiring you is how you can use this as an advertisement. But you see, here's the thing. A picture is worth 1,000 words, but the right message could be placed over 1,000 different pictures by using this formula. We're using the same caption right over here, how it feels when plus problem, and we put it over a guy who's got his hand on his head and he's got, what is that, 750 milliliter bottles of beer. So obviously this picture is exaggerated because this guy would be in the hospital, but the reality is the same message works. The same message works with this. You got a couple that's crying. Why are they crying? Because they sold their home below market value. Why did they sell their home below market value? It's simple, because they were not using you as their realtor. Right over here, the slap heard around the world. That right over there is how it feels when you sell your home below market value. It's actually pretty underwhelming how simple it is to make these. How it feels when plus problem is how you have unlimited content ideas. So for those of you who are wondering, all right, Alan, this sounds good, but you're repeating yourself. Well, here's the thing. Branding is all about repeating the same simple message over and over and over again until your customers have it mesmerized. And if you want a book that goes deep on that subject, Marketing Made Simple by Donald Miller, I cannot recommend this book enough. So for those of you who want to actually do the exercise, I dropped in a PDF earlier called the Heat Sheet. Write down one shared truth about your industry that you can exaggerate and turn into a meme. The goal is to make your audience think, Oh, I've been there. I don't want that to happen to me. And because I don't want that to happen to me, I should pick up the phone and call blank. That's the science behind it. So that's how you use humor in your marketing. So now what we're going to want to do is move along to the second pillar, which is education-based marketing. In the world of business, people exchange money to solve problems. But the science behind here is this. When you sell, you break rapport, but when you educate, you build it. So by combining humor and education, you're actually able to develop rapport by showing your personality and demonstrating you can actually help someone. So the science behind here is this allows you to be seen as a resource versus a salesperson, allowing you to generate leads by solving problems. And when you put that together with humor, your audience says, this person's cool, but this person can actually help me. So combining humor and education together, you manufacture trust. This right here, folks, is how you add somebody online and they warm up to you by doing this. So let's go over a really easy way to do this, starting with a free app called Canva. Do me a favor, just for me to gauge the audience. If you are currently using Canva right now in one way, shape, or form, just drop yes in the chat if you are using it. And if for whatever reason you're not using Canva, this is probably the most robust marketing platform on the planet. And what I love is you don't have to have any graphic design skills. You can make something like this over here on the right in 2 minutes or less, and all that you need is a good headshot. So take the picture over here on the right. It's got a picture of an extremely handsome gentleman, also known as Alan Stern, who's got an extremely receding hairline. Had to drop that in there. But what happens is if you take a look at what it's saying, it says, listing your home soon? If so, send me a message and I will give you 3 simple ways to increase its value. And then it has my signature on there. So what I love about this is branded content, but the message that this is conveying is, hey, if you're the kind of person who is experiencing blank, well, then we should talk. That's what we're doing. We're conveying an entertaining message. And here is how you would do something like this. You would literally go on Canva and you would type in business quotes, and you would find about 10,000 of these that would pop up. So if for some reason you don't like this template, whatever, there's tons more. This is step 1 right over here. And now let me share with you how underwhelming step 2 is. You guys ready for it? Here's step 1 right over here. Here's step 2. Look at that. Step 1, I had literally just swap out my picture, and now all of a sudden it's a quote with my picture on it. Like, the truth is, I wish I could flex a little bit harder and say, hey, I made this. No, somebody else made it. I swapped out my picture. And then step 3 is you just figure out what you're going to say. So we literally start here, step 2, step 3. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. So for those of you who would like to do the exercise, just write down one way that you are able to become a resource for your prospect. Think, hey, here's what you should know before you do this. Hey, if you want to sell your home high and you want to buy low, here's what you need to know. If you want to do X, here's what you should know. Swap out your picture. Now, all of a sudden, you have a way to generate leads by positioning yourself as an authority. So now we're going to move on to my personal favorite, which is adding value. At this point, we have formed a connection by using humor, and we have demonstrated that we can actually help people. So this right over here is how you get the entire room talking about you. This is how, to Rich's point earlier, you get people so excited that they don't even know how to introduce you because you add value in so many different areas. So here's the thing. Humor actually adds value and education adds value. But here's how you can do everything different and carve out a piece of real estate in somebody's brain in a non-business related level. There's a book right here, which I highly recommend reading, by Alex Hormozi, that says, if you introduce something valuable to someone, they will associate that value with you. So what I'm going to do is give you 3 personal ways that I have used this that allow me to stay top of mind, spending nothing. Number one, everybody who's on this call is probably a big networker. So what happens is if you make an introduction to somebody, whether it be a three-way text message, a Facebook group, you invite them to a networking event, they remember that you are the source. When you introduce something of value, they associate that value with you. Prime example here. I'm giving you guys all of this fire content and showing you how to market yourself. But what happens? Rich Kimball and his team are the source of this. So if somebody says, hey, how did you learn this? You could say, Rich had this awesome speaker, Alan, on the other day that I learned this. When you introduce something of value, they associate that value with you. A very easy way to do that is through making introductions. Now, two ways that I personally do this outside of introduction. I want you to think of your hobbies for a second. Fun fact about me, fun fact about Rich. We're huge craft beer people. What does that have to do with business? Absolutely nothing. And that's the point. I have had probably 50 to 100 clients over the year hit me up on weekdays or weekends and say, hey, Alan, I know you're a big craft beer guy. I'm about to go to Benny's. I'm going to a party. I'm bringing this to a Super Bowl or a barbecue. What do you recommend getting? Or, hey, Alan, I'm hitting this brewery. What do you recommend getting? And now all of a sudden, it might be the weekend, it might be after hours, and I have my clients thinking of me in a way that's not business. Top of mind, cool way without spending any money. And the third way that I personally do this, owning a DJ company for a decade and a half, people hit me up a lot of times for music. It cost me nothing to make a Spotify playlist. So if somebody needs music for an event, I can make it for them. And who do you think that they are thinking of when they jam out to that music? They remember the source. When you introduce something of value to somebody, they associate that value with you. Now, this right here might be a screen that you want to either screenshot or take a picture of, because here's a bunch of ways that you can do this. You can introduce somebody to a book, lunch specials, documentaries, happy hour, content, great deals, app, vacation ideas, hotels, conspiracy theories. I usually get about half of the room that laugh is that. Documentaries, networking groups, whatever it is. When you introduce something of value, they associate that value with you. So now, for those of you who want to actually do the exercise, write down outside of business, at least one way that you are able to add value to your network. Think, hey, you should check this out. And now what we're going to do is we're going to move to the last and the most important pillar, which is trust-based marketing. So at this point, here's what we've done. To do a quick recap, the humor has created a connection. Our audience says, hey, this person is cool. The education has demonstrated that we actually know what we're talking about. So we've shown our personality and we've shown our expertise. The adding value has shown our intentions. It shows to our audience that we're actually looking out for them. And free value leads to trust. So here's the kicker. All things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those who they know, like, and trust. But the thing is, Nielsen, which is one of the biggest market research company on planet Earth, did a study that reports 92% of consumers believe suggestions from friends and family more than any sort of advertisements, which means, why would you try to tell the world that you're awesome when somebody else can do it for you and better? Nobody can sell you better than a satisfied customer. So what we're going to go over how to do right now is a creative way for you to scale the sale. Google reviews are extremely important. But here's the thing. Reviews are important, but who actually sees those reviews is of equal importance. So I'm going to go over a free way for you to collect reviews right now if you don't have a website by using LinkedIn. So for those of you who are not aware of this, LinkedIn has a section where you can go and ask somebody for a recommendation. You can literally go to any one of your clients' profiles and click on that little button right there on the right-hand side that says more. And now all of a sudden you'll see a tab that pops up that says request recommendation. And if any of you on this call today are willing to do this for me, I will make it worth your while and actually make one of these for you, no strings attached. So if you request a recommendation, here's what's going to happen. All of a sudden, your client is going to get a direct message that you can personalize. So here is a bulletproof formula that works all the time for me. You can literally say, hey, I have done a really lousy job of asking for testimonials in the past. Would you mind leaving me one on LinkedIn? It would really help me out. So as soon as somebody leaves you a profile, a recommendation, these show up on your profile right there. So if you use LinkedIn as a networking tool, now people can see what the community is saying about you. So this right here, folks, is how you scale the sale. You can do this with either LinkedIn or you can do this with text-only Google or Yelp reviews, but you can go and get one like you see right over here. And then what you can do is go back to Canva and just copy and paste. You can go on Canva and type in testimonial graphic, and you'll see probably 10,000 of these that will pop up. So if for whatever reason you don't like the template that I'm using right over here, all that you have to do is find one that you like, and then you literally start here and you copy and paste it. That's it. Start here, go back over to Canva, copy and paste it. If you want, add your logo, and then step 3 is you just swap out the background. If you happen to have branded photography like I do, great. If you don't, not the end of the world. But in 2 minutes time or less, you can take something from here and turn it into a graphic, which now allows you to repurpose this on Instagram, which, as Matt mentioned earlier, is a photo only or a video only platform. So write down, for those of you who wish to do the exercise, write down one person that would be willing to leave you a LinkedIn recommendation. So here is what I want to do. I would like to give you all a no strings attached gift because I am well aware that I fire hose you guys all with content ideas today. So you may be feeling inspired right now. You may be feeling excited, but the reality is what will happen 30 minutes after this call, life starts happening and you're going to get pulled in a million directions and you're going to forget the majority of the content that we went over today. So if you're somebody who's like, I would like to refer to this back at a later date, just scan the QR code that's on here. Or what you can do is you can go to dropsomeheat.com. I will drop that actually in the chat, dropsomeheats.com. Fill out the form and let me know where you want me to send this. It has slide overlays. It has the downloadable content. It has all of that stuff right there. So that just as a thank you for tuning in today, I wanted to give you a no strings attached gift. So that's free. However, the only thing that's better than free is fast. I'll give you an example. So if you're somebody who gets free tickets to Six Flags Great America, that's awesome. But if you have to wait in line for 3 hours at every single roller coaster, now all of a sudden free just meant you're no longer having fun. So for those of you who are like, hey, I like free, but I'd like to go fast, and I would actually like to learn how to do some of the stuff that you had mentioned, I put together something for you. It's called the Content Machine 3-Day Crash Course. And here's what it consists of. 3 one-hour Zoom calls, 1 week apart with homework assignments and a workbook to go over in depth everything that I had just mentioned. Now, I'm actually just wrapping up a course right now, so this is going to start in a little less than 2 weeks, but here's what this consists of. Day 1 is solely focused on AI. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. I want to actually share with you how you can do a custom data table like this for real estate, and you can take that and you can start writing targeted advertisements, targeted blog posts, targeted articles, all of these things, and post them on LinkedIn. Again, free 99. Nothing on this call that I'm going to show you involves you having a Canva Pro membership or a ChatGPT Pro membership. So day 1 is only AI. Day 2, though, we're going to have some fun. Because if it's not fun, you're not going to do it. So we're going to learn how to do memes and GIFs and make sure that we learn how to nail the messaging, and we can even source the ideas from ChatGPT. So once we've had fun, we've also learned some basic graphic design skills, which is going to come in handy for call number 3. And call number 3 is solely going to be focusing on Canva. We're going to do a pretty deep dive. So that way you have a full understanding of how you can take your headshot and turn it into a graphic like this, which will allow you to demonstrate your expertise, but do so in a cool fashion. So for those of you who are like, this sounds great, but like, I'm a slow learner, don't worry. You have recordings of all of the calls and you literally have a workbook. So there is zero room for error. You will have the support that you need. So if you are interested in doing that, just scan the QR code right over here. It'll cost you a little bit, but I promise you it will make you a ton. Here's what I want you to think about though for a second. I didn't come on here to sell this course. I came on here truly to pour back into the community and help you guys out. I want you to just honestly ask yourself this. Imagine a time in the world right now where the cost of doing business, whether it's hiring a team, whether it's brick and mortar, the cost of materials, whatever it is, the cost of business, plain and simple, has shot through the roof over these past few years, to the point where we are all asking ourselves the exact same question. How can we accomplish more by spending less? Imagine the entire market right now is all thinking the exact same thing. And we have an opportunity to actually do something about it by just asking the machine, by leveraging AI. Imagine a time right now where all of the competition is figuring out, hey, is this AI stuff actually going to stick around? Imagine that. Imagine having this opportunity and just squandering it. You saw what you can do with a data table. It will write articles for you in 2 minutes or less. So for those of you who might be wanting to just like take the conversation a step further, I encourage you to watch the video. If you want to go fast, 3-day crash course, love to work with you. Now, I want to button it up with this. The purpose of this call was to show you all how to market yourself on a shoestring budget. And I made a claim on how you can meet somebody in person one time, add them across social media, and based off of what you post, you stay top of mind, they warm up to you, and you spend nothing in the process. So for those of you who frequently attend networking events, you will appreciate this visual. You go to a networking event, you're not going to have an opportunity to talk with everybody. But the people that you do talk with, immediately, you should add them across Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. That way you can ditch their business card and you can stay top of mind without spending any money. They see your stuff, you see theirs, you engage, now all of a sudden you're in front of them. So the idea is with the humor that keeps you in front of them because people go on social media so that they can be entertained. Now, you didn't make a sale, but you made a friend before you made a sale, which means you could potentially have a referral partner. So the humor keeps you in front of them. The education says, all jokes aside, I can actually help you. If you know somebody who is in X, Y, or Z situation or experiences blank problem, I'm the guy or gal who can actually help you out. Then you add value in so many different ways, both in and outside of business, that they don't even know how to introduce you. Is this the person that can help me with this? Is this the person that knows music, the beer, whatever this is? You have now become a go-to resource, staying top of mind, which has then allowed you to get the community recommending you, which creates trust. So again, when your marketing goes cold, all that you have to do is drop some heat. Thank you all for coming on the call today. I figure at this point, I will open it up for Q&A. Drop any questions that you might have in the chat. I'm here to help. I'm here to serve.
Perfect. I did see one, but it's a very specific one about LinkedIn. Vishal had asked a while ago about, is it a big deal to have 2 different LinkedIn profiles? I'm not sure that's your lane at all. He's got one for his job, but then he's got one for real estate.
I would just do one. Here's what I'm of the belief of. At the end of the day, you know what? Less is more. Specifically when it comes to Facebook, let's say that you have 3,000 friends on Facebook, but you also have a business page that has those exact same 3,000 that like your page. You could post the exact same thing at the exact same time of the day, and you will get a fraction of the engagement on your business page. And the reason why, I'm here to remind you, Facebook is a for-profit organization. LinkedIn is also a for-profit organization, which means they want you to open up your wallet and actually boost the post and invest in advertisements.
Got it. Getting a lot of thank yous. I didn't see any other questions in there, Alan, so I'm going to talk about some future events. If you guys have some questions for them, hit it up in the chat. Thank you guys for hanging out. We had a lot to deliver today, but it's a lot of good stuff. Our next event, live event, if you will, is going to be tomorrow night in Tinley Park. We're going to be at Sound Growler Brewery between 4 and 7. It's one of our realtor events. Please RSVP with us, so that helps us give a better idea and a food count. So that's super helpful. We'd appreciate that. Our next video training is for realtors and investors, or realtors who are investors, or realtors who work with investors. It's a big deal. We're going to have 2 different speakers on again. We're going to have one speaker on that talks about 1031 exchanges or Starker exchanges. We're going to have another speaker on there that talks about cost segregation. If you're working with any investors at all, or you're an investor yourself, or you're doing commercial, you need to be on that call, because there's a lot of excellent, unique tax strategies that are going to make you as an agent look like a top professional. After that, we go back to our traditional lunch and learn. Our traditional lunch and learn is going to be May 15th. That's at noon. That is going to be our one-time close program. So that is a construction loan that we close. Hang on, somebody's not picked that up. All right. That's a construction loan that we close, where we can close that loan. They could buy the lot, build the house, and they never have to refinance. It automatically converts into a regular loan. Gail will definitely get you some information on that. Links for all the events will be sent out to you guys. Alan, thank you very much. Great job, by the way. Really love what you do. He's done some incredible things on social media. You know, the one thing about social media with the way he does it and the way that we do it is you get these people that'll come up to you and say, you know, like they know you. Like, hey, Alan, how are you? And you're like, man, I've not seen this person maybe for 3 years. But because you're there, you're making them laugh, you're educating them, they're already ready to do business with you like you're an old friend. And I think there's a lot of power in that for our agents as well. And then certainly, Matt, what a great resource. So unbelievable resource when it comes to Google, and unbelievable resource, Google business page, Google reviews. Really appreciate you guys taking the time. And none of this happens without Tony. Tony, thank you very much for keeping us wired, keeping the education rolling, and keeping us going. Guys, thank you very much. For those of you on the South Side, I'll see you tomorrow night. And otherwise, we will talk soon. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Tony, thanks again. Bye, guys.
Take care.